and welcome to a new edition of our daily debate, where we are going to tackle the Egyptian-African relations. At the beginning, I would like to welcome in the studio our very dear guest, Major General Osama Kabir, the consultant at the Commander and Staff College. Thank you so much, Major General, for being our guest for tonight.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Always our pleasure. And before starting our debate about the Egyptian-African ties, we'll start with the top story, where President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi directed the need of establishing a unified social protection program through which necessary protection is provided to the targeted and eligible segments of the citizens. The President remarks came during a meeting with the Prime Minister, Mustafa Madbouhi, and Minister of Social Solidarity, Maya Morsi, to follow up on developments regarding the governance and modernizing of the social support and social protection system. President Sisi also emphasized the need for continuous development of support mechanisms in a bid to achieve a better balance between social justice and economic sustainability, while fully preserving the rights of the most vulnerable citizens. The President also gave his directives to continue monitoring the implementation of the Takaful and Karama program, which benefited 4.7 million families, and to prepare an annual report measuring the program's social and economic development impact. The President further stressed strengthening the economic empowerment of beneficiary families and improving the efficiency of state social spending. Meanwhile, President Sisi directed to improve the quality of services provided to children, facilitating their operation, increase child enrollment rate nurseries, and map out an integrated development layout for nursery sector in Egypt to develop family supportive policies. President Sisi also instructed the establishment of centers providing psychological and social counseling and support for children in accordance with international standards, and emphasized the need to expand the establishment of elderly care homes. The President also underscored the importance of providing all aspects of care within foster families to ensure children's social and psychological stability. President Sisi directed that specialists must conduct regular follow-ups with foster children to ensure the well-being within these families. And to shed light on the Egyptian-African relation that witnessed an unprecedented leap in recent years, starting with traditional bonds of brotherhood to stage up comprehensive strategic and developmental partnerships. More about the Egyptian-African ties in the following story.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's vision stems from a firm belief that links Egypt's stability and growth with the security and growth of the African continent, and this vision is embodied through the strategic features that have shaped a new reality for the Egyptian-African partnership. It is based first and foremost on the inevitable link between security and development, based on the firm conviction that sustainable security stability cannot be achieved without an economic renaissance, and that a strong economy cannot be built without a safe environment. This is what Egypt translates practically through adopting a comprehensive approach to drying up the sources of terrorism, and through its leadership of the post-conflict reconstruction and development file within the framework of the African Union. This path is aligned with the consolidation of the principle of African solutions to African problems, based on the belief that peoples of the continent and the efforts of its sons are best able to shape its future without external dictates or interventions. This vision is also manifested in the dimensions of development diplomacy and the transfer of expertise through presenting the Egyptian development model to African brothers by contributing to implementation of major national infrastructure construction and energy projects, and launching continental connectivity towards networks such as land routes and shipping lanes. This naturally paves the way for achieving economic integration and pushing strongly towards activating the African Continental Free Trade Agreement to create a unified market that raises intra-regional trade rates and strengthens regional supply chains, ultimately leading to self-sufficiency and food security for the continent. The pillars of this strategic vision are completed by investing in human capital through empowering youth and women as a fundamental pillar of the Sustainable Development Agenda Africa 2063 and affirming Egypt's role as a beacon of knowledge and academia that provides thousands of educational and training grants through its major national institutions such as Al-Azhar al-Sharif, Cairo University and Sangare University to build the promising African cadres capable of leading the future and making decisions. There are also Egyptian experts in many fields who are sent to countries on the continent as well as medical convoys and urgent aid that Egypt sends to help African peoples, especially in times of disasters and crises, as well as recently done with the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda to contain the Ebola outbreak and strengthen the health response in the affected areas.
Welcome back and starting our debate for tonight about the Egyptian-African relations and starting with Major General Osama Kabir, the consultant at the Commander and Staff College. Major General, to begin with, how do you assess the developments in the Egyptian-African relations?
Well then, as been shown in your report,
Yes.
here it says that Egypt redefining its continental leadership for the continent. Egypt is, if not comes at the first place, the major country in the African continent. Actually, we have very good relations with the African Union, with all the continent countries. We are at the same distance from all the countries actually around the continent, and we are trying to boost and bolster the relations in between us and the countries of the continent within. You understand that creating the new conventions and mega projects, as well as trying to build up a new sort of development sustainability and the sustainable development, as they would say it, and as well as we are creating the relations in between them and the European Union at the same time. So Egypt comes here at the first place always, and there is no doubt about that, no exaggeration when I'm saying that, because if you can see the geopolitical location of Egypt also, it helps that the impose leverage within the positive leverage actually within the continent. And we are trying to create or to get the utmost benefits out from the continent through the cooperation and the appreciation in between the situations between the continents. Africa is going on to the positive position, much more like the growing demography of Africa, the abundance of its resources. Like too many things you can speak about, and that's why we are playing this pivotal and intrinsic role to play through all that. Hopefully that we can gain the most mutual beneficial relations with the continent.
Yes, indeed. Sir, President Sisi has always emphasized that Africa should be a partner in shaping the international order rather than merely adapting to the decision made elsewhere. How can we change the course of the previous events of the past, of course, and what practical steps are needed for Africa to become a central pillar for the global order?
But exactly, again, the whole continent actually is being merited by another geopolitical strategic location, because it links up all the channel routes. Speaking here about the blue economy, if you can see in Africa you have the Gibraltar Strait. It's like observing the Bab el-Mandeb Strait from the eastern side, as well as they have the Good Hope, Cape of Good Hope, all the way down to the south. So if you look at the continent, it links up the whole world within the blue economy channel routes and the maritime chain of supplies. And by that, so we look at that by a very, very deep and strategic vision from our perception here in Egypt, as well as the continent also. Now, like too many countries within the country, 55 countries of the continent of Africa, they are trying to improve their situation within the international community and trying to obtain much more sustainable development. And through that, you can see that to find like much more job careers and entrepreneurships, as well as to look at the building up the cooperation in between to enhance the sustainability in between the countries. Let's speak about that the resources of the continent. The whole continent actually is being merited by very various and very let's say precious resources.
Indeed.
That we can get up by enhancing the technology, the skills of education, creating the mega projects, as well as going through the enhancing the military within the country. I mean, it's something when you speak about that, you wouldn't find a point to end about, because Africa is the hardest spot, I think, from my perception, to the whole world, and that's why we are pretty much interested in that.
Sir, of course, Africa is a very rich country, yet our resources are not fully used by the African states themselves. How can we change that? And we are trying to increase the intra-African trade relations. We are trying to increase the cooperation among the different African states. Yet there are many challenges which are hindering the full intra-African cooperation in the economic investment and trade levels. From your point of view, what are still the main challenges that are existing, and how we can overcome these challenges?
Right. The hindering points comes at the first place about, let's speak about the education, the level of the health of the population within the whole country. If you understand that we have a new Ebola now,
yes.
God forbid, this is very dangerous, pops up like within the middle of Africa. You understand that we have too many, like, it's not the sectarian rift, it's about the ethnicities in some of the different countries within the continent. We have like too many like internal battles and warfares, like what's happening in Sudan, sometimes in Congo, but in the last 20 years we had in the middle of Africa, we had in south of Africa. So I mean, the country is not infected, it's not diseased, but it's trying to revamp its international, its international location. It's an international position within the whole world.
Indeed.
Trying to come over the challenges. What other challenges we have within the last time? We have something like the trans countries passing crimes, speaking about the drug trafficking, speaking about the illegal migration, speaking about some economic, vibrations or repercussions, that because due to some countries are not able enough to stand up again. So all these kind of challenges, I think we are dealing with that from our perception, trying to get to a quick resolve, or quick resolutions, good resolutions for the whole continent. And again, it's the black country which is under the spot of all the international community eyes, and this is very important.
Yes. How can we increase the level of cooperation among the different African nations in order to try to get solutions for what you have been mentioning, sir, from still some militancy there, from some uncertainty, some economic problems, and maybe some poverty in some states. So how can we increase the level of cooperation on the economic and political levels in order to try to solve these very important and pressing issues?
Right. And as you can understand, something goes back all the way back to something like more than 30 up to 40 years. Beside the African Union, we have what we so-called the IGAD, for instance, and for the western countries of the continent. We have the COMESA, which is for the eastern countries and the southern countries of the continent. And in the last 2 decades, maybe, they are not pretty much active enough, because due to some diseases, due to some social turbulences, due to some economic problems, due to some contradictions and paradoxes within the political leaderships, it happens. But through these organizations, under the umbrella of the African Union, and plus, boosting and bolstering the relations, the political relations in between the leaderships of the country, that would help quickly, because, I mean, the whole continent needs to look around it. What's happening in the world now is pretty much dangerous. It's going up pretty much fast, so you cannot catch up with that. I mean, everybody wake up, and I would say the continent is waking up. And by bolstering these political relations and to look at the problems and trying to find out the good resolutions and to conduct the good maneuverability around the challenges and the necessities that we need to do, all these sort of ideas and aspects, if we put all together, I think we can like, yes, to consolidate the whole continent all the way up to the ahead in the distance in a positive steps. So it's happening, as you can see in your show, like in your reports. We're still conducting that amid a great turbulence that hits the Middle East.
Yes. Sir, we'll go to a short break, and after that we'll be back to resume our daily debate. And welcome back to our daily debate, and continuing our debate with our dear guest, Major General Osama Kabir. General Kabir, how does Egypt contribute actually to supporting peace, security and development in the African continent?
In too many domains, I would say. If you speak about the economic domains, that we are getting into too many projects and conventions within the relationship within the African continents, and we are helping like too many of them in too many domains within the economic, for the trade, for the infrastructure of the industrial projects. In a military and security domain, we also helping, like taking part in that. We don't specifically speak about the southern and the middle of the continent. I speak also about the northern part of the continent, because we have some problems there. If you just mentioned about something happening in Sudan or something like that, that's another thing. In the domain of policy, of course, we have very good relations, very, very strong relations with the 55 countries, and we're trying to expand and enlarge this circle and the level of political and diplomatic relations with the country for the sake of the nations within the whole continent. In the social domain and the agricultural domain and the education domain, we have like too many activities, too current activities, too active, trying to enhance the level of education in between the continents. We are conducting like too many summits, too many, political leadership of Egypt as well as the foreign minister. We conducted like too many visits, shuttle diplomacy. So I think in the 4 or 5 domains we have done like too many, and we're still expecting to do much more even in the future. And yeah, we are going to go to steps in a positive way. Yes.
Yes. So last Sunday, Foreign Minister Dr. Badr Abdulati received the U.S. advisor for the Arab and African Affairs, Mus'ab Boulos, and they discussed very important issues of mutual concern. And of course, one of the most important file was the latest developments in Sudan, and how they should find a solution to the crisis there with the remaining of the Sudanese institutions. And of course, Egypt is always with the stability and security and unity and protecting the sovereignty of Sudan, and always the president of course is asserting that the security and stability of Sudan is part of the Egyptian national security. So how do you see this very important file as well?
It's very important at a very high and large scale. Yes, Mr. Mus'ab Boulos was here, I think Sunday, the day before yesterday. He had the special envoy of Mr. Donald Trump, President of the US, to the Middle East. And actually, if you're trying to differentiate or define what's the speciality of Mus'ab Boulos and Steve Witkoff, because both of them, I think they are maybe embedded in the Middle East issues. However, let's speak about Mus'ab Boulos. Bolos came here speaking about Sudan with the Badr Abati, Foreign Minister of Egypt.
Yes.
You understand, the problem in Sudan is exaggerating, is prolonging now.
Indeed.
It's the rapid support forces, yes, RSF. They are conducting like horrible and criminal actions within the southern west mid part of Sudan, speaking specifically about the Darfur province as well as two other provinces, speaking about the west of Kordofan and north of Kordofan. And we have seen that on the media, I've seen that on the television screens. And if you can remember that the Egyptian political leadership had declared something like the red lines. I think that was in December 2025 about what's happening in Sudan, as we have prospected and expected that there is a new cracking might take place within this very precious strategic depth of Egypt within the southern part. As you understand, maybe the RSF wants to take the province of Darfur and take it on another country. So we have three countries now after like one country, you know, two countries since 2010, and now some other would think like these are sinisters. We have declared our red lines. So we are providing and we are helping and we're supporting the Sudanese official armed forces as much as it needs. That was declared by the Egyptian political leadership, like in too many occasions and too many parties. And when Mossad Bolis comes here, you need to expose this thing. You need to open some files for him. You need to put him in the middle of the problem, because you are not just an envoy of the Middle East. It's not only the way you take your airplane, come here, get back with some good reports. We need some good resolutions. We need the United States of America to intervene within that. I think if they would dig their nose in that, they can help stopping the genocide and the catastrophic situation in the province of Sudan, speaking about the west and mid province, specifically Darfur. What's happening by the RSF actually is something very crucial, very horrible, and when this war will be ended, I think too many of them will be submitted to the ICC. So yes, Sudan we are pretty much concerned about what's happening there. These are some red lines we have declared. And also Sudan, speaking about if you want to ask about the Libyan, this Western strategic, Western strategic depth there in Libya, that we have this crack about between in the east and the west. We are trying to link up in between the two counterparts. By the way, we are having Turkey with us on that now. We're trying to make points meet and to match or compromise in between two counterparts. So like too many problems that surrounding Egypt, but we are dealing with that. Hopefully that we can keep the situation safe and calm.
Yes. Back, sir, to the situation in Libya. Of course, as you have kindly mentioned, Libya is part as well of the Egyptian national security, and we have been asserting every time and whenever special envoys are here and in all summits about the importance of holding the elections in Libya, both the parliamentary and the presidential election in Libya. How do you see the situation in Libya, and what actually concrete steps should be taken on the ground in order to settle the differences in Libya?
Right, this is a very important question. You know what? Actually, elections in Libya should have taken place in the 2022. Now we are at 2026, which means 4 years in difference now. You know why it's not taking elections? Because the government in the Western, led by Mr. Abdul Hamid Dubeiba, have ended his rotation, but he will leave the authority. Why? You don't ask me about that. Maybe ask the man. He will leave the authority. So the other guy, who is the new actually prime minister, who lives in the eastern side, I think his name is Osama Hamad, is not leading anything. While the international community knows that Abdul Hamid Dubeiba is done with his rotation, and he is not legally in power, but they're still dealing with him. So the international community here is responsible, because if you are interested in Libya, you need also like to put your hands in a very positive way in manners and trying to solve this problem. So since 2022 and up till now, we cannot get to the elections, even though they have sent someone called Richard Norland. That was the American envoy to Libya in the 2022, and the man, he tried a little bit, but you're not very much sure if he tried like in the way he's supposed to do, or he just tried as being in an official mission, and I'm not done with it, so I can do it over, move out from here, I cannot do that. So it's still a problem there. We are calling the two counterparts within the eastern and western sides of Libya to unite, to unify for the sake of the population, for the sake of the Libyans, for their credibilities and resources and their wealth within the country. Otherwise, I mean, till when and till where? We can't stop that. So the problem is still there, but we are achieving that. We have Turkey on that too, and like too many from the European Union, but hopefully, I'm not sure about that, but hopefully we can get up to good resolution about the Libyan problem.
Yes, hope so. Also, a very important file was discussed while Mossad Boulos was visiting Egypt with Foreign Minister Dr. Badr Abdelati, is the Horn of Africa, the security of the Horn of Africa, which is of great concern to Egypt as well. So how to see the Egyptian efforts regarding this very important file, which is of great concern to the security of Egypt as well?
Right, and this is very, very important issue as well, because Horn of Africa, if you remember that, Mahesti, there was sort of military operation, international military operation called the Guardian of Prosperity, if I remember the name, Haris al-Izdahar, that to safeguard the shoes on the African Horn against the piracy activities. If you remember, that took place specifically since 2017 all the way up to 2023 maybe, till they could a little bit impose the leverage and to mitigate or get them out of that, banishing them. But however, something like a couple of months ago, maybe less, it seems like this very, very diseased like phenomena is bobbing up again on surface. Another piracy activity took place on that area, and if you remember that 8 Egyptian sailors been seized, captured by some of them. So the African Horn is very strategic location. It would lead you also to Bab el-Mandeb, which is very, very geopolitical strategic strait.
Of course. It
comes maybe at the same place with Hormuz Strait. Yes. As you understand now, the key word is open Hormuz and close Hormuz. It was very funny and sarcastic, by the way. So yes, the African Horn is very important. It's for the whole international community, for the whole globe, because it leads to the, again, the maritime blue economy, the vessels, the ships needs to pass through this spot all the way up to the north to the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, all the way up to the north within the Red Sea corridor, all the way up to north to the Suez Canal. So it also represents an Egyptian national security. It is affecting,
of course, the freedom of and the security of the navigation as well in the Red Sea.
Exactly, as you said. So we do pretty much concern about this African Horn, and if you understand, there are some problems too, because some like the Somaliland, due to the country of Somal, and there is sort of a trial to crack the country to Somaliland and Somal, and some other country like Ethiopia is interfering within that, trying to have some small piece of seashore, or 20 kilometers, called Mina Barbara or Barbara Port, and like too many fingers in the kitchen. But we are observing that, and we have declared also some red lines. So don't try your luck, or don't even push your luck with that. Hopefully that you got much more wisdom and to understand. It's very important, the African Horn, and we are observing, we are depicting and detecting what's going on there, and we are telling Mr. Mossad Boulos, you better watch that and tell your president what's happening there.
Yes, indeed. Sir, how do you see here the future of the Egyptian-African relations in light of the current regional and international challenges and all the geopolitical situation that we are witnessing these days?
From my own perception, I'm very optimistic about that, because I'm tracking what's the Egyptian efforts are going on through. I'm tracking that. I would see that Egypt is pretty much concerned within the whole continent. And as I talked to you, like we are dealing with them within the 5 domains, speaking about security, economy, diplomatically, as well as socially and education, stuff like that. It's very important. And I would say, yes, we are going in a good steps, positive steps ahead to the distance. And through the summits, through the open discussions and the open floor for talks, and the tables and the papers, and as you can see, the shuttle diplomacy by the foreign minister and the political leadership itself.
Of course, of course.
So yes, generically I cannot define something specific, but like too many things we can speak about that. I would say Egypt still at the first place. The Egyptian role is very precious, is very tremendous, is very valuable, and the continent needs Egypt as well as Egypt needs the whole continent.
Of course.
Both of them actually is being merited by strategic geopolitical location, which gives them the great chance to be the new hub for the new world after a little bit of turbulence would come down.
Yes. Sir, from your point of view, is the continent entering a new era of geopolitical relevance rather than geopolitical tensions and amid all the challenges that the world is witnessing? Are we going to witness here more cooperation, more development, more integration among the different African states?
I would say yes. Nevertheless, that we still have some challenges and hampering points like going against that, but I would say yes to your talk, because you know why? If you look at the like too many countries, speaking about Nigeria, speaking about Rwanda, speaking about South Africa, look at the way they deal now with the artificial intelligence and the information technology. I think Nigeria is going up for something like a Silicon Valley now. The countries now are pretty much aware about the importance and the high level of benefits that come out from the economy, from the you know, the peaceful situation within the demography of the countries, each to every continent, to every country, I mean within the continent. I would say yes, but at the same time we have the challenging points. You are trying to overcome these hampering. I love the word you said, hampering points, because exactly it describes what's happening. And that's why, like too many countries now within the continent trying to get to the new era. Of course, Africa is pretty much famous with the, what we so-called, you remember that, the colonial era?
Indeed.
By the Portuguese and the Netherlands and the Belgians and
they had
French.
actually great influence in
Even
the
France
African
now is not imposing like too much leverage now after the 5 countries, Mali and what happened in Mali. So I think now the outer hands are pulling out a little bit bit by bit, and the country or the continent now is trying to reconsolidate its countries on side and to start moving forward to the prosperous future.
Yes. From your point of view, sir, how important is Egypt's role in shaping that future for Africa?
Again, it's the same. Egypt is one of the major countries within the continent. Egypt is a leading playing factor within the continent. Egypt is a bigger sister to the all. Egypt is trying to expand all the lines and pathways and channel routes with all the countries within the continent, within the different domains. And through that, our role is still a very high level, is still very praised by the others. And the whole continent knows the importance and the valuable presence of the Egyptian political and policy and diplomacy within what's happening of the country amid the whole international community. Because we are linking also Africa with the European Union in too many other things, and I understand that very well.
Yes. In a multipolar world, what advantage does the African possess that could enable it to emerge as a global actor rather than just a geopolitical maybe player?
But, again, please, I just couldn't get the...
How do you see here the African continent and the African states as major player, not just recipient of the colonial powers?
Right. If you look to the values of Africa, if you look at the new political leaders of Africa, if you look what's happening, for instance, in Burkina Faso, if you look for the new president, this young man who is very disciplined and organized, seems a little bit more, yes, he's one of the military, still wearing his military uniform, but it seems that the new generations now are trying to pull all the countries out of the mud. And due to the high technology and the evolution in the information technology and in the cell phones and the media channels and everything, in this new asymmetric evolution within like too many different domains, now everybody is aware, is awakened.
Yes.
If you can't get up, start moving, if you're a little bit late, you will lose like too many. Maybe you will lose forever.
Indeed.
So I think if that would describe what you would ask him for, I would be yes.
Yes, indeed. Major General Osama Kabir, consultant at the Commander and Staff College, thank you so much for being our guest for tonight.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
And that would bring us to the end of this edition of our daily debate. Many thanks for watching.